Hey folks, okay, there are three specific things I want to cover in this video. One, the football fiasco at Penn State. Two, the recent developments in the Republican campaign for president. And, what was the third thing?
You said there were five.
Huh?
You said there were five.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, okay. Oh well, I guess I just can't remember. Oops. Anyway, okay, so there's obviously been a lot in the news this week. I mean, it just, we start off the week with Dr. Conrad Robert Murray getting convicted of involuntary manslaughter in the death of Michael Jackson. We move through the week. You got this other woman coming out accusing Herman Cain of sexual harassment. Then another one of the accusers makes her statements public. There's Penn State. Obviously, I say fiasco because it's really just unfolding so quickly, and it becomes more and more of a disaster with each passing day, almost by the hour. Sandusky arrested, all these revelations start to come out, then the Board of Trustees just starts firing people, including Joe Paterno, longtime coach. He's been there since the 1960s. And then, the debate, Rick Perry's very public brain freeze, and
A Fox News alert moments ago, the Italian Prime Minister resigned.
it just obviously a very big news week. So we've got a lot of ground to cover. I want to talk briefly about the football fiasco at Penn State. Obviously, at this point, it's impossible to know what's true and what's not. But man alive, we're looking at some really terrible things if the accusations are to be believed. Here's my take on it. It appears that the Board of Trustees acted too hastily. That's what it looks like, because it seems to me the proper thing to do would have been to take some time, do their due diligence, and make a determination as to whether or not, the essential question in these types of cases is, what did he, in this case Paterno, know, and when did he know it? And it just seems like this unraveled so quickly that it's hard for me to believe that they took the time to conduct a reasonable investigation before actually coming out and saying, we're going to fire Paterno and Spanier. I think the president of the university, I think it's, a lot of the students are rightfully upset. If this is true, I mean, if it's true that what's being reported is that some guy, I think his name is McQueary, walked in on Sandusky raping a 10-year-old boy in the showers in 2002, reported the incident to Paterno, and they basically tried to handle it themselves without getting the police involved. I mean, if that's true, then yes, that's grounds for dismissal. It doesn't seem like there was enough time between these revelations and the Board of Trustees' decision for them to conduct a reasonable investigation to find out whether or not that was true. And so I certainly hope that they did their due diligence and didn't just act in haste in order to try and save face, because this is the type of thing you don't want to mishandle. I mean, these people are in trouble for mishandling something. It would compound the tragedy if the Board of Trustees were to mishandle the situation that has been created by other people's mishandling of a situation. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. The Republican race, here's something interesting. Last month, I was getting my hair cut, and my barber, Norman, he said to me, you want to know a secret? I'll tell you who the Republican nominee is going to be right now when all the smoke clears. I'm like, all right, well, lay it on me, Stretch. And he says Gingrich. And I thought, well, that is, he's certainly going out on a limb there. But now, if you've noticed, then just in the since that conversation, Gingrich has been making a steady rise in the polls. Just to take a look at some recent polls, well, I'd like to show you the polls, but I haven't quite yet figured out how to do a voiceover on this thing, so just take a look at this.
First, let's look at the CBS poll. You got Herman Cain on top with 18. That's 3 higher than Mitt Romney and Gingrich. He is tied in second. That's pretty amazing. Then there's the McClatchy-Maris poll that has Romney in the lead with 23 points, followed by Gingrich at 19, and Cain is third with 17. Why?
So Gingrich is definitely on the rise. I just worry that should he get the nomination, I feel like at this point he's damaged goods. At this, it's funny, we were just covering something in family law this week. This is my first the first week of the winter quarter here at Baylor Law School, and in family law we were talking about this concept about how at common law, back in merry old England, if a woman was engaged and her fiance jilted her, basically broke off the engagement, then the woman was considered damaged goods. Our professor used Pride and Prejudice as an example, if you're familiar with that book, and basically it was like she was, she would never get married because to all would-be suitors she was considered damaged goods. And I feel like at this point, because of all his baggage and his past, Newt Gingrich, fairly or unfairly, maybe damaged goods as a general election candidate, and so his campaign will be fatally flawed from the beginning. But we'll see how things go. As for these sexual harassment allegations on Herman Cain, you can tell the left is just giddy with excitement about this. I remember, the Monday after the first allegations came to light, I watched MSNBC a little bit that evening just to see how they would handle it. And this is actually how Lawrence O'Donnell opened his program. Check this out.
Gotta hand it to Herman Cain. He has brilliantly diverted attention away from his huge campaign finance scandal.
Okay, did you notice that really weird grin at the end? Can we get a freeze frame on that? Take a look at that. Now, when I saw that, I thought, that creepy grin looks awfully familiar. Where have I seen that before?
Troy and Abbott's new apartment!
Hi! Yes. Well, Anyway, back to this Rick Perry thing. Look, I was skeptical of Perry candidacy from the beginning. You can read an article I wrote before Perry launched his campaign on my blog, so go there and read that article and comment on it, or any of the other articles on my blog. You really need to comment on those articles, people. But listen, some weeks ago, Bill O'Reilly opened his show asking this question.
Can he turn his campaign around?
And I will now answer his question. The answer is no. Look, we all have mental blocks at times. I recently suffered a very problematic and, for me, unprecedented mental block on a final exam, and I'm just dreading the results when my final grades come in. That had never happened to me before, and it's so sometimes we all have these mental blocks, and sometimes they occur at what seems like the worst possible time. But what I think is the takeaway from this, this is not. We will not look back on this as the thing that killed Rick Perry's candidacy, or rather, it is not as though but for this, Perry would have been the nominee. This was rather just the final nail in the coffin of his campaign. He was not going to get the nomination. I think that was a pretty fair assumption going into this debate. And I continue to believe that John Huntsman is the best candidate for us, but he's not going to win the nomination. His only realistic path to the nomination was a strong showing in New Hampshire, and then in Florida, which is really where he's pretty much the two states where he's devoted nearly all of his resources to. And it looks like now, if anyone beats Mitt Romney in New Hampshire, then it's going to be Newt Gingrich. But it's a shame. I really wish more people would have given John Huntsman a try. But he's made. It's interesting. The interesting thing about Huntsman is he hasn't really made a lot of gaffes, or really any big gaffes, or he doesn't really have a problem of saying stupid things. But he's made some rather bizarre campaign choices. And one of those was publicly stating that he was not going to campaign in Iowa. If you want to skip Iowa, then you don't announce it. You basically just don't campaign there and wait for someone to broach the issue. That's kind of what Mitt Romney was doing this time around. And now polls in Iowa have him either first or second. But and he skipped the Values Voters Summit, or maybe that wasn't it. Maybe it was some other conservative gathering. I think it was the Values Voters Summit. You can't do stuff like that. So anyway, as the Republican field stands today, it's it looks like it's going to be Mitt, and I think second most likely to get the nomination is probably Gingrich. We'll see. We're less than 2 months out from the Iowa caucuses and the New Hampshire primary. We're really closing in, but keep in mind that at this point in 2007, John McCain was still on the uptick, to be sure, but definitely not in the top tier of candidates. Anywho, one final note. My beloved Bears are now 6-3, which means we're bowl eligible, and I think we've got 3 more games left this season. The sad thing is, all 3 of our losses have been conference losses. That's probably the biggest disadvantage to playing in the Big 12. But so many good teams. But in any event, check out my website, check out my blog, and of course, don't mess with the right-wing genius.